could get better than other people. You could outperform them. And in outperforming them, you could transform your life and you could do things that other people couldn't do. I wish, unfortunately, Kobe Bryant didn't exist back then in any way that I was aware of anyway. And he has this whole idea of boos don't block dunks. And that you can get so good at something that no matter how much people hate you, want to stop you, whatever, you can outplay them and you can still dunk over them. And I was like, oh my God, like this is so amazing. So all I have to do is get good at things. Now, to your point, if you're using that for evil, I've got no time for that. But in your own life, if it's, whether in business, if you don't acknowledge that it's a competition, you're going to get eaten alive. So recognizing, okay, like this is a competition. I'm not out to hurt other people, but I'm absolutely out to outperform them. And life became way more fun when I realized, oh, I can come seeking power. I can sit at somebody's feet and learn from them and want to grow more powerful. And that's why like this whole moment that we're living through now feels like the wrong way to go about the change that people want to see in the world. Because it's like, if you own, okay, I want this outcome, and to get that outcome, I need to garner a set of skills, I need to get better at my performance, and then I can do it. When it's out in the open and you're taking personal responsibility, in fact, here's the easiest way to sum it up. As Gary Vee says, there are two ways to build the tallest building in town. You can knock everybody else's building down, or you can build a building that's taller than theirs.
That's great. Yeah.
And if you're spending time knocking people's buildings down, which is the energy I feel coming off of a lot of people, that's not interesting to me. And people do it in the name of, oh, no, like their building violated some invisible code.
You know where that comes from? It comes from envy.
Envy
Envy is a huge motivator of people's behavior now. So the drive to bring other people down is really truly motivated by feelings of envy, inferiority, that other people are better than you are. So it's a leveling process that's going down where we want to bring everybody down to the same level. Nobody is excellent. Nobody's accomplished anything. Oh, they just accomplished great things because they had money, or because their parents sent them to Yale or Dartmouth, or because, they had all of this privilege. We're all, so it's like bringing everyone down. But I think that it's envy is the root cause of it.
So going back to where we started, that people are bored, they feel like they're wasting their life, but you were saying, wherever you go, there you are, that this is an internal problem, you have to master your emotions. How do you begin to tie all that together for somebody that wants out of that? They want to love their life and feel like they're making the most of it. You talked about, like, we actually have the ability to get a drug-like effect by looking inward and what? Is it and improving ourselves and just falling in love, being honest about what we actually like and pursuing it? Like, is that an act of the will to expansion? What's driving that?
Well, there are many ways to look at that. But in mastery, my way of describing it is a very high form of fulfillment, because I like to think of fulfillment over happiness. Happiness seems like a kind of an immediate thing, where getting some kind of stimulation or drinking whiskey will make you happy, but it won't make you fulfilled. Fulfillment is a longer lasting emotion. It comes from, wow, I spent 2 years doing that. I made what I set out to create. I feel fulfilled. It's a wonderful feeling. It's the greatest high in the world, I think. Okay, so my one avenue to get towards what you're saying is through your work. Now, I'm not saying it's everything, because I understand relationships and people and children, all these things are very important, okay? But I'm looking at through your work to reach a level of feeling of that sense of power and expansion and fulfilled. And when you have that feeling, you don't want to hurt other people. There's no need for it. There's no need to push people around for no reason. You feel comfortable with yourself. All right? So the number one thing, the most important thing, is to figure out the path towards that kind of fulfillment through your work or through your career, right? Now, some people don't like that. I've been criticized before. I went once and gave a talk at Stanford, and they were thinking that was just so elitist. Like,
fulfillment?
Well, through your work. Like, this one woman said, my father was a truck driver his whole life. Are you saying that he wasn't fulfilled? You know, that kind of criticism.
What'd you say to that?
I said, well, that's actually very elitist on your part. You're saying that that's all your father was ever capable of achieving. Maybe, you know, if he was happy being a truck driver, if that excited him, if that's what he was destined to create, if he felt comfortable with that, fine, I have no problem. But a lot of people in very working class jobs aren't necessarily so happy. Their lives are full of routine. There's no kind of intellectual challenge to it. And if you know anything about the human animal and the human brain, we're voracious. Our brains are voracious. We need constant stimulation. So if you're driving a truck all day, that's all you have. If that's fulfilling for you, maybe, yes, being a good driver and getting there on time and delivering goods, maybe that is a road to fulfillment. But maybe your father was frustrated. Maybe he was drinking or something. Maybe it didn't really fulfill him. So how can you say that people should just settle for what they have, right? Because a lot of people aren't happy, and they may think they're happy. They may kind of deceive themselves, but deep down inside they're frustrated, and that's why they turn to having affairs. That's why they turn to alcohol. That's why they turn to drugs. That's why they turn to addictions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There are all kinds of signs of that. So I'm not necessarily assuming that your father was fulfilled by his truck driving. He could be, or not. That's how I answered her. She wasn't happy with that. Okay, anyway, so some people criticize this notion of work, but no, we are animals that love to make things. Somebody once defined us as Homo faber, the animal that likes to build things, to make things. That's our hands. We became powerful through making tools, etc. Also by being social animals, don't get me wrong. But we're creatures that are designed to make things, to build things, to create, right? And I'm not an elitist. I think every human being on the planet has that desire, right? They wanted that fulfillment. And I don't care if they're born poor and they're impoverished or they're homeless, they still have that need and they have that capacity to become a master in what they do. So the most important thing in life is to figure out what is your path, what is the kind of work that will bring you that sense of fulfillment, okay? So some people, it's being an entrepreneur, it's being in business. Other people, it's the arts or it's entertainment of some sort. Other people, it's writing, it's words, it's literature. Other people, it's the body, it's sports, it's dance, it's whatever. I don't care. I don't have a hierarchy. I don't say writing books is better than building wooden things with your hands. It's all the same to me, right? It's all a form of a skill. It all can lead to mastery. But you have to find out what that is, and then you have to build towards it. And when you reach that point, let's just look at the end point. So in your 20s, which is the most important part of your life, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't want to derail, but okay, we should come back to that.
It's where you're discovering yourself. It's where all the seeds are planted for what's going to happen to you. Of course, they're planted in your earliest years, don't get me wrong. But I do think that's the most critical phase, right? You're exploring, you're trying things out, you're experimenting with different careers, etc. You're gaining skills because you're learning. You, like you said, you wanted to learn, right? And then you're 32, 33, and you start a podcast, a website, your own business, etc. And maybe it fails, but you're excited it's your own. And then you learn from it, and then you create something even better. Man, it's like the greatest feeling in the world. You don't need anything else. You know, you've accomplished something. You set a goal and you reached it. It is, to me, a feeling of high. So when I write a book, it's painful. There's a lot of pain involved, stress, et cetera, et cetera. But man, there's nothing in the world I would give up. I even had a stroke probably because of that. I wouldn't give up any of that for that sense of, I could look back, I wrote that book. I can die tomorrow and I'm happy. I did what I thought I needed to do. I reached not all of my potential, but a good portion of my potential. To me, that is, if everybody had that open to them, then I think we would live in a much better world if people knew that as a value and went towards it. And I think the greatest periods in history, the kind of the golden eras, we can look at Athens, we can look at Renaissance Italy, we could look at the 1920s in America, the jazz era and all the great cultural movements. pick your whatever period you like. Some people like the 60s, some people hate the 60s. I don't care. Whatever you think is a golden era. They're eras of richness, of diversity, of all kinds of creative people doing all kinds of interesting things. It's an openness, and everyone is experimenting. And that this kind of change that's brewing and experimentation. That's, to me, is a high point of human culture, and it comes from more and more individuals taking this path that I'm talking about.
If you like that clip, check out another powerful clip right here, and I'll see you there.